Hello and welcome to Newsclick. Today we have with us Beverly Ward, who is a professional consultant working with disadvantaged groups in the United States. Beverly, good to have you with us and hope you had a good time in India.
I have, and thank you to you and your audience for having me here.
Trayvon Martin's case has been a worldwide news. A 17-year-old young man was shot down in this fashion, and a jury finally found the assailant who had chased him, essentially forced a quarrel on him, and finally shot him as not guilty. Do you think that this is a failure of the judicial system, or was it a failure of the law itself that had been enacted in Florida, Stand Your Ground law?
I think it's a failure. It's a huge failure. I think you're right on both accounts. I hope that people, as they think about this, will follow the case. There were a number of errors made, and I won't go into all of them. But I'll give you an example. After Trayvon was shot, his body lay in the morgue for 2 days and is unidentified. Yes, and his family had reported him missing. So he's in the city's morgue, and nobody put those pieces together. So there are a number of errors that were made. I want to talk a little bit about Stand Your Ground and my feelings about this. When that law was passed, there were those of us on the left and more progressives who said that that's an open season, particularly on African Americans, because of the policy of walking while black, talking while black, looking while black, that you can be stopped and frisked or suspected. And this plays into a larger historical view of how space and place are racialized in America. That you're not supposed to be certain places at certain times if you're black. And this, in the post-Obama era, we think those days, the media, the mainstream media would have you believe that those days are gone. But Trayvon's case that decision brings this glaringly to light. So thank you for asking me that question.
What does it mean to the African American population today in the United States to have a black president and yet have these kinds of incidents happen? Huge number of black African American youth in prison, and now increasingly even electoral laws being changed by the Supreme Court, which effectively brings back the kind of discrimination, may not be in so glaring form, but back to what it was in the 60s, which is what gave rise to the civil rights movement.
If you follow the data, and I crunch numbers a lot, the changes that a lot of us had hoped for in the 60s, in a number of instances that you've ticked off, have never been realized, and some of the laws and spaces that had opened up are being closed and are rolling back. Decisions, around affirmative action and how that can be used to create space in the universities for African Americans or low-income people, those are being closed off. Voting rights. I also ask your viewers and others who follow you on the web to pay attention to this site, because I hope you'll do something around August 28th, 2013, which will be the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington. There will be another March on Washington, and I'm hoping that the numbers will be even greater than they were 50 years ago because of this dichotomy. You have a black president in the White House, but you're not safe to walk around a community.
What are the next steps for the African American leadership with respect to Trayvon Martin's case? Is it a pressure for reopening the case, having federal government take initiative, take some steps on that, or is it to look at the law itself, or do both?
All and both, and it's not either or, but it's and both. There is, his family has vowed to spend the rest of their lives seeking justice and speaking out for others, in addition to pursuing a civil rights case against at least the shooter.
Zimmerman.
But there may be grounds for a broader, some action against the police department and so on. The other thing I've seen is that I was somewhat heartened by the way people turned out a week following the decision, like all across the country. There were hundreds of people, and people I've heard at the African American community say that they were unable to watch the trial, but they were glued to the transcripts and the newspapers to see what happened and following it, and the interest did not drop over a year. So I think that people are rallying around for a number of the reasons that you named, because it is this his death. I think people are saying this should not be in vain. We've got to do something because of all of these decisions.
Both the gun lobby, particularly the gun laws,
Yes.
and of course in this case the Stand Your Ground
Right.
law was really an extension of the gun lobby, if you will.
Right.
Is there any change likely to take place in the United States as a response to this, with regard to this gun laws, gun lobby, particularly the Stand Your Ground law?
There is considerable pressure on the governor to do something around, the governor of Florida, to do something around Stand Your Ground. There are, in addition, a number of cities have, where the Congress and some state legislatures have been unwilling to act. A number of cities have enacted gun laws, and some of them are being sued or whatever, but there is this sentiment that there, among some, that there are just too many guns in America, and too much access. There's a website, slate.com, that since December 2012 has been counting the number of people who've been killed by guns since the Newtown massacre. So I think that there is a groundswell for a number of different reasons that people are coming together that are saying, look, we've got to make some sense of this.
So do you think there's a possibility also of, given the fact of all the instances you gave, the civil rights, what had been won in terms of affirmative action, closing of some of that, the kind of electoral laws with the Supreme Court now has really struck down a very central part of that. Do you think there is a part of, again, building up to a new civil rights movement on the behalf of the, from the African American community?
I think so, and I you may call me Pollyanna, but I think so. And again, when you've got a third of African American males that are disenfranchised, either because they're on parole, on probation, or in prison, in a number of states, you lose your voting rights. So what so many people fought so hard to get, you're now disenfranchised because of these policies. That how much can a community bear, and that as a groundswell. I also would point to the connection that Tavis Smiley and Cornel West have made, not only around people of color, but poor people, with their poverty tour last year. And so there is this again, the Occupy movement has not gone away. its coverage has gone away, but they're still occupying and they're still acting on a number of these issues.
Hopefully coming together of new forces,
Right.
as well as revitalization
Exactly.
of some of the existing groups.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me again.
Hope we'll follow up when you come next time.
I look forward to it.